Not My First Language, a memoir. Written and read by Reena Arora-Sánchez. Seven. July 2nd, 2015. 6 months to the day when my mother had taken her last breath. 6 months of conversation. 6 months of wondering. It was time to see if that man was that guy. The young student athlete who had started messaging me all day long, who called me after a drunken night out with friends to unabashedly confess his love for me in a series of candid videos. Amor, amor, te quiero mucho, me gustas demasiado. Would he be the one? Did he even mean it? You know what they say, children and drunks always tell the truth, he admitted the next day. The truth. What was his truth? Sure, we had a friend in common, but I was a digital native, a child of the catfish generation. I'd been an avid fan of the documentary-turned-popular MTV show that served as a warning to people who were eager to meet their online loves in person. People just like me. As Neve and Max, and later Cammie, would eventually uncover, some turned out to be exactly who they said they were. Others had a much different truth. In mid-2015, technology had rapidly evolved to the point of giving us a false sense of security in online relationships. How well do we know the people on the other side of a device? How well did JC know that man? And how well did I really know JC? At 31 years old, with a series of failed relationships behind me, I just didn't want to do anything stupid. I wanted to know better. I demanded as much from myself. But there was something about that man, something I couldn't articulate. What was it? I'd lay in bed and pray for guidance. Mom, I'd whisper to my guardian angel who insisted she was always listening, eyes fixated on the ceiling. If this isn't supposed to happen, please stop me. Any number of things could have prevented us from finding each other. Maybe the conversation between us would stall before my trip, and my gut would tell me to stay home. Maybe one of my 3 flights from Charlotte to Pereira at the height of travel season would get canceled. Maybe the Hotel Habitat wouldn't be available after all. Or maybe that man would realize that he was surrounded by young, beautiful Colombian women everywhere he looked, and he didn't need to put himself through the uncertainties of an international relationship with an older woman from the other side of the world. Maybe he would get cold feet and call the whole thing off. Or he really did have a secret girlfriend who everyone knew about but me, and they were both trying to lure me miles away from home so they could kidnap me for ransom. No, too predictable, I thought. But not impossible. God, I called out this time, as if the universe hadn't already heard my conversation with Mom. Please, if this is not supposed to happen, I beg you, do whatever it takes to stop me. As if I had any control over the bigger picture. One night, as I was negotiating with Mom, God, and the universe at large, I got a call from an old friend, a witness to practically my entire dating history. Olivia and I became fast friends in 2005 when we were hired as low-level associate producers at the same Charlotte television station, both harboring big dreams of being wildly successful network executives. My path eventually led me down a more corporate route, and hers to the United States military, but no matter how long we went without seeing each other, we always picked up right where we left off. "Hey girl," she messaged me one evening. "I'm back." Back in the country, she meant. Since joining the Army in 2008, Olivia had been stationed everywhere from South Carolina to South Korea. "Oh, yay," I wrote back. "Where are you right now?" "I'm in New York, about to head to Charlotte. Are you home? Could I stay with you for the night before I drive to my family reunion?" I couldn't wait to see her. We wasted no time catching up over a dish of mixed seafood and creamy pink sauce at our favorite Italian restaurant in Steel Creek, the place where we'd shared so much life-altering news with one another over the past decade. She asked about my family, how we'd been in the 6 months since my mom's passing. Olivia knew all too well what it was like to lose a parent to brain cancer, Her father had also died from the disease just a few months after doctors discovered the tumor, around the same time as my mother had fallen ill. The difference was she somehow lived 8 years beyond her prognosis, while Olivia's dad unfortunately succumbed to the disease much sooner. Well, I'm glad you're here now because I have some big news, I shared, changing the subject. Olivia's wise, inviting eyes widened as I caught her up on that man, on deciding to take the risk to meet him in person. Wait, she interrupted, holding up a fork full of sauce-covered noodles in one hand, her other hand's index finger pointing to the sky. Another Colombian? That finger sliced the air to point at me. Another? What do you mean? I asked. She took a bite and chewed at the question. Girl, she insisted after making sure she'd swallowed properly. What about B? Oh, right, B. My ex-boyfriend born in Bogota and raised in the United States. The one who wanted to marry me and got upset when I insisted I would not be engaged at the same time as my older sister because I wanted her to have her moment with her dream man. It felt wrong sharing the spotlight. My time would come. B was also the one who forgot to ask for time off to attend that family wedding in another state and barely made it to the ceremony on time. I ended the relationship after realizing we were not on the same page about the important things in life, even after 4 years together, most of which had been good. He quickly moved on with someone who I'd later learn had been eyeing him for some time, waiting for me to release him. Girl, I retorted to Olivia, that man is nothing like B. They're not even from the same part of the country. Olivia busted out laughing, that warm, familiar sound heard a mile away. Cacophonous, but never obnoxious. My good friend understood how badly I wanted things to work out with this new man in South America. She was there for me when I learned B had moved on so fast. Olivia also witnessed W's temper firsthand when he lost his cool with me during what was supposed to be a fun night out with friends on St. Patrick's Day. She wanted me to have the love I craved with a partner who deserved me. Her biggest concern, of course, was my safety. Like everyone else fascinated by the same tired narratives of Pablo Escobar, one of which was about to premiere on Netflix. One I wouldn't watch until years and years later when I realized Pedro Pascal was in it. At least you're going to a part of the world you've already been, she noted, looking at the positive side as usual. Not like South Korea. Olivia entertained me with anecdotes about adapting to life in Seoul as an African-American woman, the odd disparities in clothing sizes. It was nearly impossible for her to find cute outfits for her muscular 5-foot, 8-inch frame over there, the hospitable people, and where to get the most authentic food in town. Not as good as this Mediterraneo, though. I playfully stole a bite of her seafood pasta while she sipped from her glass of Pinot Grigio. Hey, she teased. Do you know how many planes I took just to get this dish? About as many planes as I'm about to take to get to Pereira, Colombia, I joked back. Do you need a lift tomorrow? I've got a nail appointment around that time just up the street. I could take you before then. I appreciate it, I assured her, but I settled my ride a long time ago. Good, fine, she retorted playfully. More time for me to focus on my self-care. Later that night, I meticulously examined my suitcase to ensure no amenity was left behind. At that time, toothpaste, multivitamins, even shampoo were significantly more expensive in Colombia than in Charlotte. And even at my thinnest, which was around a US size 8, most stores there didn't carry clothes or shoes that would fit me. That meant it was critical for me to have exactly what I needed for my 10 days with a stranger. My focus halted as an uneasy feeling washed over me. I was missing something. But what? Spare glasses? Check. Tennis shoes? Check. 14 days worth of underwear because you never know? Check, check, check. I shut my eyes in quiet frustration before realizing what was bugging me. Of course something would go wrong just hours before I was due to leave the country. Of course. That man had mentioned I'd be in town for his mother's birthday and the family was going to have a party for her. It would be my first time meeting him and them. He didn't want to ask, but could I possibly bring a present for her from the US? Something unique that he couldn't easily secure in Colombia? and he and his sister would pay me. They both had jobs, and I didn't think it was an issue given everything he'd planned for our time together. I also wanted to make a good impression on his family. After all, my mother was gone. That man's mom could be the main living maternal figure in my life, if this all worked out. My suegra. No pressure, though. I scoured the local department stores before coming across a lovely cream-colored Calvin Klein leather jacket on sale for 70% off. With that man's approval, I grabbed it, having no idea what size his mother wore. I eyeballed it and decided it would be considered a normal size in Colombia, so I grabbed it and hoped for the best. The problem was the cashier never took off the security tag, and in my rush out of the store, I didn't notice until I began organizing my suitcase. The jacket would be useless with that tag still hanging from it, which meant I would have to squeeze in a trip to the mall, in the opposite direction of the airport, before my long day of travel. Okay, God, what in the actual heck? I sighed. I mean, I had asked for him to give me a sign if this whole thing wasn't right, to stop me from leaving the country by any means necessary. Was this it? Was this the burnt toast theory in action? That theory is rooted in the idea that seemingly small, inconvenient disruptions, like burning toast, can actually trigger a series of events intended to protect you from something much more serious. For example, you burn your toast in the morning and have to make it again, perhaps delaying your departure from home, thus preventing you from being involved in an accident. That kind of thing. Maybe the jacket was my burnt toast. Maybe heading to the mall in the morning would trigger the series of events that would stop me from making my first flight, thus keeping me in the United States and showing me once and for all that this whole idea of finding the love of my life in a foreign country in the months after my mom died was indeed ridiculous. I might have bought into that ideology before, but since losing my mom, the only thoughts I could hear at that point were that life was far too short not to try. It's a freaking clothing tag, I calmly reprimanded myself. Yes, it's a birthday present for your possible future mother-in-law, but no one's dead. It'll be fine. You'll be fine. I closed my eyes and attempted to exhale the anxiety from my nervous system. When the tips of my fingers came tingling back to life, I texted the friend who was planning to take me to the airport the next day. So we need to make a stop. Like most ongoing text conversations, I skipped the pleasantries. I was already uneasy because that's just what happens when I'm about to fly somewhere. It has nothing to do with the act itself. I'm not afraid of airplanes since flying is statistically safer than driving. I'm not kidding, look it up. Not to mention my history of global travel began while I was still forming in my mother's womb alongside an alleged twin who would never see daylight. That's my family's theory anyway, that my mother, pregnant with me, had a terrible experience on the journey from New York to Germany. And when my parents and older sister arrived at their hotel in Munich, my mother was doubled over with pain so intense and so persistent that only one conclusion came to mind. They'd lost the baby. A few months later, I arrived, their longest, chubbiest child. Reena ate her twin, became my sister's favorite declaration, though we never found out for sure. So yeah, getting on a plane has never been my problem. Getting to the plane is another story. If you're not 5 minutes early, you're late, Mom insisted. Didn't matter if it was a hair appointment, a funeral, or a flight. Whether my itinerary is 1 hour or 12, until I'm checked in, through security, and sitting at the gate waiting to board, I can't seem to fully relax. And in this case, I was going back to Colombia alone for the first time via 3 flights crossing 3 different countries to meet a man I'd never seen in person before. Once I left the US, my cell phone wouldn't work without Wi-Fi, and that man would be waiting for me in Pereira. Everything had to be on time. At any rate, I had to get to the store first and pray that this well-intended gift wasn't my burnt toast. M raced us down I-485 the next morning, weaving so rapidly through 4 lanes of light traffic that we made it to the mall in record time. We were so early, in fact, that the doors were still locked when we pulled up. A couple started a line outside. I wondered if they had a flight to catch too. We all waited rather impatiently for a sluggish salesperson to officially open the store at 10 a.m. I glanced at the clock on my iPhone 4 and started to sweat. Okay, I assured myself as I back-timed my schedule, one of the many skills I learned as a news producer who had to be on the air every weeknight at 4:58:35, whether I was ready or not. Your flight doesn't leave till 12:30. The airport is 20 minutes away without traffic. Check-in and security won't take long at this hour on a Thursday morning. Yes, I realize it's a holiday week. But you'll be fine even if it takes you half an hour to fix this, which it won't. Relax. Breathe. My semi-calming thoughts were interrupted by the sales associate who finally called me to her register. I told her about the mistake with the jacket, flashing my receipt as proof. And without any reaction whatsoever, she robotically removed the security tag and handed it right back to me. Oh, thank you. I squealed as if she'd just sealed my fate before power walking back to M's car in the nearly empty parking lot. Did the people behind me think I'd gotten away with theft? Who knows? All good? M asked with a smile. All good, I lied to us both. The jacket was good. God, Mom, or whomever had gotten me through that hiccup. Let's see how good things get. We merged onto the opposite lanes of I-485 toward the airport on what I had just noticed was a quintessentially Carolina day. Blue skies, perfect spring-like weather, windows down, Drake's latest album blaring from the radio. I couldn't help but release a little tension. M was rapping the lyrics to Know Yourself and cheering in between verses as we floated down the interstate, her enthusiasm contagious. For the first time that morning, I embraced the moment, smiling and leaning against the headrest as I reflected on what was ahead of me. And then I smelled it. Burnt toast. Literally. Hey, M noted abruptly, turning down the music. What is that? The odor of burning rubber was unmistakable. Smoke began rising from the road and into our open windows. Oh, damn, M mumbled, her voice shaking. What do I do? Do I keep driving? Neither of us had been in a situation like that before, let alone on the interstate. I had no clue what the next logical step was, but we were so close to the airport exit, another mile and change, and I'd be at departures. If we were just able to get off the highway and on to the local road toward the entrance to Charlotte Douglas, we could check me in and examine her car. Everyone would win. As I considered offering this option to M, her white Honda began a rhythmic, unfamiliar dance, bumping her driver's side up and down again. The tire had blown. Let's stop. That can't be good, I conceded, my heart sinking. I had jinxed myself, hadn't I? I'd asked my mom, God, the entire universe to give me a clear sign if I shouldn't go to Colombia. Yet in the same breath, I scoffed at the possibility because I don't take no for an answer. And here I was, stuck on the side of the road just before what could be the most important trip of my life, having no idea if help would arrive on time. I gazed up at the clear Carolina blue sky as M navigated to a jug handle on the side of the road where we could inspect the damage. Is this it, Mom? Is this your way of telling me? I thought. Once we got out, we saw for sure that the rear driver's side tire had exploded, rubber ripped to pieces, leaving M cruising on metal. Whoa, I shouted. Has this happened to you before? No, M yelled over the flow of highway traffic. I can't. She clasped her hands on top of her baseball cap, swaying back and forth, completely overwhelmed. Me either, I shrugged. She looked hopeless. I felt hopeless. I wanted to be there for her, to lead her through the situation, to empathize and learn how to change a tire, to make sure she got home safely. But there was no time. I had to get to the airport. If one of my 3 flights went awry, I'd be back at square one. As I froze consumed by my own drama, M remembered that her mother had gifted her an American Automobile Association membership, complete with roadside assistance. She dug through her glove box to find the laminated card with the toll-free number, which she dialed before explaining to the voice on the other side where we were and what had happened. "They'll be here in about an hour," she yelled, relieved. An hour? I couldn't wait that long. What was I going to do? Rideshares were just becoming a reliable option in cities across the U.S. during this time. Had it been a year later, I would have immediately requested an Uber and been on my way, after ensuring my friend was safe, of course. But in mid-2015, my only viable option seemed to be to hitchhike the stretch to departures. I have a bag on wheels, I said to myself. I can make it if I start walking now, if she would just open the trunk. Then it hit me. Olivia was still in town. She'd left my house in her rental car around the same time Em came to pick me up. The nail salon was just a few minutes away, close enough for her to get me to the check-in counter on time. Maybe. Lucky for me, Olivia had just finished her appointment. "Don't move, I'm coming," she yelled into the phone. Where was I going? Em seemed relieved that we'd solved both of our problems. Meanwhile, I messaged that man to let him know what was going on. "And now we're here waiting for help," I concluded. His response? A laughing emoji. No, "Oh wow, I'm so sorry." No, "Are you guys okay?" Nothing. Just laughter. A throwaway response to an event that had practically traumatized me. That's when it went beyond burnt toast for me. It was as if the entire toaster had exploded and set my kitchen ablaze. "Is this funny to you?" I demanded. "Two women with no experience fixing cars stuck on a busy highway while one is desperately trying to get to the airport to come see you?" My ears lit up. I didn't know if it was from the blazing sun that seemed to strike from nowhere or the rage I felt toward his apathy on what was supposed to be an important day for us both. "No, it's not funny," the man insisted. "But also it kind of is." I was dumbfounded. "Okay, well, I really don't appreciate that ridiculous response. You're being very insensitive right now." "What?" He didn't understand why I was getting so worked up. "Everyone is fine, right? It's just a tire." God, you really don't get it. I rubbed my forehead as Olivia's car pulled up. "Look, I have to go," I said. "I guess I'll just see you later." "Yeah, great, be safe," he responded. What was I getting myself into? Here I was in distress, well, more so Em than me, and this guy didn't seem to care. At all. Was he worthy of the pedestal on which I'd put him? Was I going to be disappointed yet again? This time, I'd be thousands of miles away. No friends around to help, no escape vehicle available, not even someone who speaks my language fluently. What was I doing? "Hey lady, are you okay?" Olivia's voice carrying from her car window brought me back into the moment. Yeah, I replied mindlessly. "Yeah, I'm okay." Em opened her trunk so I could grab my purple rolling duffel bag, one large enough to carry 10 days' worth of travel items for me and a number of gifts for that man and his family, including the Calvin Klein jacket. "Are you going to be okay?" I asked Em. "Yes, don't worry. Go meet your man," she insisted. My man. We would see. This chapter reflects my personal recollections and is not intended to serve as a factual record. Memory is imperfect, and others might recall events differently. Certain names, details, and dialogue have been altered or reconstructed for clarity and privacy.